As the language war rages on, the divide between North and South is clear and palpable. Not just the Janta, but Netas and Abhinetas have waded into the tempest, vociferously championing their cause. While Bollywood top actors back Hindi as the national language, their contemporaries in Sandalwood, Tollywood, and Kollywood take up cudgels for diversity as the pride of India. In fact, they say that the imposition of Hindi will crush regional identities. They are for English as the link language. Listen in to superstar Kiccha Sudeep contending Hindi is not the national language, while Nawazuddin Siddiqui says Hindi is denied its place, even in Bollywood. Listen in.
मैं बॉलीवुड में 3 चीजें चेंज करूं।
या आपके पास 3?
एक तो नाम ही चेंज करूंगा। ये
नाम क्या रखेंगे?
हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री रखो यार।
हाँ ठीक है।
दूसरा जो हमारे पास जो स्क्रिप्ट आती है रोमन में आती है, उसको याद करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, तो मैं देवनागरी में मांगता हूँ, देवनागरी में दो स्क्रिप्ट। तो स्क्रिप्ट और तीसरा ये कि जो आसपास पूरी एक अजीब सी एक वो है ना, आप हिंदी में फिल्म बना रहे हो लेकिन डायरेक्टर भी असिस्टेंट भी सारे इंग्लिश में बात कर रहे हैं और एक्टर की समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा, तो ये हो रहा है। तो ये सारा जो माहौल है ना, जैसे साउथ का एक अच्छी बात है, साउथ में क्या तमिल में बात करते हैं, प्राउड फील करते हैं, कन्नड़ है, कन्नड़ प्राउड फील करते हैं। अब सारे वहां पे राइटर्स वो भी कन्नड़ में बात कर रहे हैं, जो स्क्रीन प्ले राइटर वो भी कन्नड़ है ना, जो सारे लोकल हैं।
ಕನ್ನಡ ಚಿತ್ರರಂಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದೊಂದು ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರಲಿ. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹಿಂದಿ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಮೋರ್ ದಿ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನೋ ಮೋರ್ ಅ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಂದಿ ಶುಡ್ ಸೇ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಟುಡೇ. ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತೆಲುಗು ತಮಿಳಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಡಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒದ್ದಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನೌ ಡೇಸ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಟುಡೇ ವಿ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ರೀಚಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿವೇರ್. 1970 ಅಂತ ನೀವು 1970 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತುಂಬಾ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆನೆ ಚೈನಾ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿತ್ತು ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಟುಡೇ ದ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ದ ವೇ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಬಹಳ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್.
Well, viewers, here are some hard facts. Why are those that want Hindi to be the link language pushing its case? Let's look at some of those graphics. 43.6% Hindi speakers in India. These are hard facts taken out of the census of 2011. 14 states, Hindi is the second language. 56% Indians speak regional languages. 528 million speak Hindi. 57% Indians can speak Hindi. 12 states, Hindi is the first language. 14 states, Hindi is the second language. So they believe that given the fact that a large number of people understand or have some working understanding of Hindi, it should be the link language. Of course, those in the South say that Hindi is one of almost 24 languages. It's not the principal language. And let English be the link language. Even viewers, the framers of our constitution believe this. And let's go back to 1949, Constituent Assembly debates. Munshi Iyengar formula was a compromise. English, Hindi kept as official languages for 15 years. In 1963, the Official Languages Act was brought in, extension to English as additional official language. In 64, Amendment to Official Languages Act, there you can see it, unless non-Hindi speaking people desired a change. 67, Official Languages Amendment Act, Official Languages Act of 67, indefinite use of Hindi and English as official languages. So English was constantly given equal status there. 68, National Policy on Education formulated 3-language formula to reconcile all, allowed study of English, Hindi and the regional language. So viewers, you can see that even the framers of our constitution did not give primacy to Hindi. And I want to open this up therefore. And I want to ask some specific questions. Rahul Ishwar is an activist who joins us. Mr. Ishwar, thank you very much. Mohandas Pai also there. Kasthuri Shankar, an actor. And Shahzad Poonawalla, the national spokesperson of the BJP. Rahul Ishwar, the complaint is that Hindi is being imposed on the South. And this is going to lead to the withering of the identity of southern states that are linked to their local languages. How do you respond to this?
Rahul Shivshankar ji, I am a proud South Indian and I am a proud Indian from South. But the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, rightly pointed out, he was a Gujarati, that we need a link language. And please remember, I love English, but Hindi to apni hai. Hindi is Hindi hamari hai. That means Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam or Kannada or Northeast language or Marathi or Gujarati, these are all our languages. So we should have a sense of our apnapan. That apnapan is and I know to be a personal experience. I have been welcomed, even though my Hindi is not great. I have been welcomed by a lot of Hindi channels, and there is a lot of North-South connects. So we are Indians first, and a person like Mahatma Gandhi emphasized on Hindi. Let us not forget that. A person like Mahatma Gandhi emphasized on Hindi, and let language be a point of unity. I'm a proud Malayali, and please remember, one of the biggest Hindi hits is a dubbed Telugu movie called Bahubali or KTF. We are one at the end of the day. We are one people in one soul speaking many languages. So language should not be something to divide us. Hindi is definitely ours. We have Hindi and other 22 national languages, but Hindi has primacy because Hindi is our senior brother. Hindi is spoken widely. And Mahatma Gandhi sent his son to South India to propagate Hindi and Hindi Prachara Sabhas. So respecting that sensitivity of our father of the nation, I believe we should all encourage Hindi. Inspire Hindi, not impose Hindi, but inspire Hindi.
Okay, inspire Hindi. It's an indigenous language. Hindi is a senior language. Kasthuri Shankar, respond, please.
I think I don't even know which point to disagree with and where to start. So, Rahul Shivshankar, not to belittle your patriotism, but I have a big problem with starting with linked languages. That's fine. If you want to talk to somebody in whatever language you want, it's between the two of you, whichever sides are communication. But that's where the buck ends. Language is for communication in a country like India, where each language has its own claim to greatness. It would be a grave injustice in the 21st century to earmark one language as above the others, as more dominant than the others. You cannot take numbers into question, because if, as our great Annadurai said, if popularity of speakers, if the number of speakers is taken into account as the criterion for greatness of a language, then the crow would be our national bird, not the peacock. So that is not an argument. Number two, as far as linked language is concerned, again, Mr. Annadurai, I quote, said, why do we need one linked language to talk to everybody else in the world and one more to talk to each other? एक दूसरे से बात करने के लिए एक और language. Why do we have to learn two languages? There should be one door for all, not one big door and a small door. That doesn't even make sense. I think it's very unfortunate that people don't recognize ground realities in this day and age. Once upon a time, there was an invader, a colonial power, and his imposed language was English. But today, the Russians speak English, the Ukrainians speak English. It's not England or the crown that is the reason for English being the global language. It's America and its supremacy that has made English the linked language. There are so many countries that end up having to, and even Chinese maybe, Spanish maybe, but not Hindi. So we do need one language outside. Let me finish. Yeah, I'm as proud an Indian as you are. So let me finish. What I'm trying to say here is there is no kami to patriotism. I am not any less patriotic than you are if I say that India cannot be, India की पहचान, भारत की पहचान एक जुबान से नहीं होगा. एक जुबान तो काफी नहीं है भारत के परिवार के लिए. We are a multicultural, multi-diverse and multilinguistic country, and that should be our identity. It should not be reduced to just one Hindi, one Bollywood. ऐसा तो 21st century में नहीं चलेगा.
Absolutely, just one submission. We have from Vivekananda to Narendra Modi ji saying Tamil is our pride and Tamil is one of the oldest languages.
No, this is not about
Tamil and Sanskrit belong to us. So why do we have this opposition to Hindi?
Let me say one thing.
All over India, you speak such good Hindi. You speak such good Hindi.
हाँ, मैं
So why do
बिल्कुल
we-
हिंदी बहुत अच्छी तरह बात कर सकती हूँ, मगर ये तो हिंदी वर्सेस तमिल की बात ही नहीं है. This is not about that. This is not about opposing Hindi at all. I love हिंदी. हम लोग तो हिंदी को प्यार करते हैं, मान करते हैं, अभिमान करते हैं, हिंदी फिल्म्स को एंजॉय करते हैं. But this is about Hindi becoming the identity of India, and that would be an injustice to the whole concept of the Union of India.
Okay.
We are bigger than one language.
I think it's an important point. Now, let me just, Shahzad Poonawalla, I'm coming out to you. See, my grandfather was a Kannadiga. My grandmother, my dadi, she was from Kashmir. She spoke Hindustani and Kashmiri. My grandfather and my grandmother and all of us, we were linked by one language, that was English.
Exactly.
And we celebrated the diversity in our home. Maybe we gave so much primacy to English that I've ended up not being very fluent in either Kannadiga or Hindi. So I'm working in the English language press. But I don't know what would have happened because my grandfather, very very patriotic man. He served the Indian state as governor. He served the Indian government as secretary to the government of India. He was an ICS officer. You couldn't take India out of his soul. So Shahzad Poonawalla, I don't think at this level, and you're seeing the reaction, that pushing one language is going to really unify the country.
It's going to divide the country.
So Mr. Poonawalla, how do you respond to Kasthuri Shankar? And of course, I'll bring in Mohandas Pai right after that.
Rahul, first of all, let me tell you that I myself come from Maharashtra and my mother tongue is Gujarati. Prime Minister comes from Gujarat, his mother tongue is Gujarati. And if you've often heard Prime Minister, whenever he visits any part of the country, different parts of the country, his opening and his closing remarks are usually in the local language or the language of that state or region. Look, Rahul, we have 22 official Indian languages. And I would say we don't have any national language, but yes, the Indian languages, we don't have a national bhasha, but we have a national bhavna, and all of those 22 official languages encapsulate the national bhavna. And that is what we're talking about. This is not about imposition, it is about integration. And that integration can happen only when the Indian languages are promoted and pushed forward, because the national bhavna will only be coming from the 22 official languages, which are Indian languages. That can encapsulate the Indian national bhavna. Now, let me give you an example. Look, first of all, the same constitution and constituent assembly and the founders of our constitution, they who came up with 22 official languages, also said that English language should be there for official use for 15 years. And after that, it should move on to other languages, including the official languages, Hindi language. It was in 1949, no BJP was around when Hindi Divas was declared. It was in 1963, Official Languages Act came about, which talks about the liberal use of Hindi in various organizations and departments. It is in 1976, the Parliamentary Committee on Official Languages was formed. And by the way, the 2011 Parliamentary Committee signed off by whom? Mr. Chidambaram, a Tamilian. You know what it says? It says that students should be given the right to write their exams in Hindi. There should be promotion of Hindi in railways. There should be more spend on advertisements in Hindi by the government and state governments, not on English advertisements. It talks about promotion of Hindi in various other departments and organizations across the board. And that time it was done. That time it was not imposition, it was integration. But today, when the same thing is being promoted as per the act, as per the constitutional system that has been created, it suddenly becomes about imposition. And especially at that time, when two of our leaders, the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, both belong to a culture of official languages that come from India. They are not products of say, a foreign language.
Fair enough.
Foreign country.
Quick response, Mohandas Pai. Fair enough.
Rahul,
yes.
Rahul, Shahzad has got to be very, very careful when he opens his mouth on languages. All of us are proud of our languages. In the south, we speak 3-4 languages. In the north, I don't see people speaking anything apart from Hindi. There is great Hindi chauvinism in the north of this country. And we don't want people from the north trying to impose Hindi on people from other parts of India. The Bengalis are very proud of their language. I'm a Konkani. I'm the smallest minority, I think, in this country. I love my language, but I speak Hindi, Kannada, English, little bit of Tamil. I can speak all language. Let us promote all languages, not push one single language down the throat of anybody. Don't push your language, whatever it is, whether you call it, linked language or whatever, Hindi, please don't push it. Let it be. People will learn, people will speak, people will communicate. as Kasthuri said, we all know Hindi, we can give bhashan in Hindi as good as you, and we speak Hindi freely, but don't try to impose anything. What Ajay Devgun did was very wrong to say Hindi is a national language. Hindi is not the national language. Hindi is an official language. That is the official position. Everybody accepts that. There are 23 official languages, including English. Let us promote all languages, and you can communicate in any language, but don't push any language down the throat of anybody. We have had rights in this country. We had violence in the 60s. We don't want to repeat that. And we don't like anybody from any part of the country trying to impose their language. Today, Shahzad, you speak whatever language you want. We will speak what language we want. And through through a tech app, we can listen to each other, and you can translate into language of your choice. Don't worry, we have the technology. It's not like the 70s and 80s when we didn't have the technology. Today we have the technology. Let us not create conflict. Let all languages bloom. Let we are all united. Please let me finish. We are all united by our civilization. We are united by our temples. We are united by our holy places. And we speak multiple languages. Let it be. Let us not create a controversy. Let us not create a force. And please don't try this trick of saying that, the parliamentary committee promoted that, which is wrong. I think people of the South should have protested and said, put equal money into all Indian languages.
Okay.
Let every Indian language flourish. All right?
Okay. So, Mr. Punal, a quick response, since the question of imposition is being thrown at the door. Yes.
First of all, with all due respect to my dear friend Mohandas Pailji, nobody is trying to impose anything. And I don't come here to speak for Ajay Devgun or any celebrity actor. I'm here to speak about the Constitution of India. And therefore, I said that we have a national bhavana, not a national language. But having said that, Rahul, when the Congress comes and lectures us or some other political
This is not about the Congress, forget them.
No, this is not about the Congress.
This is not about the Congress, forget them.
Rahul,
Let's not make it political.
But I am here, but you called a politician, so the politician has to call out the politics of the opposition party, which is opportunistic. So when they tell us that we are imposing, well, we are integrating, and I would always suggest that any Indian language, any of the 22 official Indian languages should be used to promote our national bhavana.
Okay, let me say one thing. Viewers, the Constitution itself is not written in stone. It's a malleable document. It changes to reflect sometimes the larger ethos, as long as, of course, whatever is sought to be imprinted upon it meets the test of constitutionality. So to just merely say that, we are trying to promote the Constitution, sometimes is also picking selectively the argument. The fact is, viewers, do we need another point of discord? I don't think so. Instead of talking at each other, we should talk to each other. And sometimes if all the communicators themselves can put their hands up and agree on a via media, then let's go with that. What's the big deal? I'll take a short break. I'll be right back. A big story, viewers, that we've been tracking. Don't go away.